when people say customer service is bad here, I used to think that too, but really it's just different.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because if you haven't been taught how to serve someone, then it's not really bad. It's just you don't know what it is. Exemplify that customer service, because I think it's different. Because if you think about it, if you haven't been taught something, then how is it bad?
You just really, I'm not even, like, you changed my mind on this, because, look, it's true, it's the lack of training, but every single time I think back, I'm like, it's not that they didn't care.
Right.
They did care. It's just like they didn't do the things you expect.
Right. And the reason why you expect it is because they did it back there.
Today we're joined with Jay from Abroad with Jay. Jay, thanks for coming. I know you came all the way from La Capital. Yeah. How was that, by the way? How was the trip?
The trip, it was good. It was good. It's a difference, for me, it's a difference from driving from Santo Domingo to Punta Cana than from driving from Santo Domingo here. And I'll tell you why. Well, this particular time, it looks like the traffic was a little bit more congested coming from Santo Domingo to Santiago. And I seen more of the 18-wheelers on the road versus when I'm traveling to Punta Cana. I don't know if it's because these are two of the largest cities, and they have maybe have the need for transportation. Yeah. But I did notice more 18-wheelers, and I also noticed that the road is better going to Punta Cana. Even though they're fixing the roads, it was a lot of potholes.
That's ongoing. That's ongoing too.
Right.
I mean, from Santo Domingo to Punta Cana, which we just went. I went with Jonah.
Right.
It was like, dude, it reminded me of like Texas and Florida.
Right.
It's just flattened.
It's flat.
Road all the way through.
Right.
And it's pretty comfortable.
Right. But and that highway is fairly new. It's newer than this right here. So
yeah. So we got a lot of hills and stuff coming over to Santiago, so it makes it a little different.
Right. And I did see an accident that I was
tough. And we have the Juan Liguera thing this weekend, right?
Everything is packed here in Santiago, so it's a crazy weekend to come in here.
Right.
So I imagine a little bit more traffic.
A little bit more traffic, and no Airbnbs.
Right.
Jay, I know your wife is Dominican.
Right.
What brought you here to the Dominican Republic?
Outside of her being Dominican?
Yeah.
Actually, when I first started coming here, I came here for work. And when I got here, I remember riding down Las Americas and going over around Zona Colonial and to stay over in the Malecon on George Washington. And I just remember just looking at the view, and I was like, this is nice. And I remember as I was doing my stay, because what I was doing, I was recruiting. I used to work in corporate America as a recruiter. And just the people, the vibe that I got from the people, the community, the pleasantries, the warmth of the people, what, to be honest with you, I didn't realize it at the time. It wasn't until I went back to the U.S. and it was like, something's missing.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Maybe that was a one-off. Let me go back. You know what I'm saying? So I ended up coming back, and every time I returned, it was the same thing over and over again. Just the same. The people never changed. Nothing ever changed. It was the same type of reception when I came. And so at some point, I was like, you know what? I can live here.
Yeah, that's funny because it's crazy to hear him say that, because I have a similar experience. For me, obviously, my parents are Dominican, right? So I grew up coming here, but I talk a lot about how when I used to come, especially as an adult, I wouldn't want to leave because I felt like, man, I'm at home here. Like I would leave crying, and it's interesting to hear someone without a Dominican background to say that. So it's like, I wasn't wrong. It's not just about roots. It's just a flow, Caribbean flow, that gets you very comfortable with like the country.
Right. I think one of the things that, got for me is that I grew up in the 80s. So in the 80s, America was different than what it is now. So in the 80s, there was, and especially in the black community, it was all about community. You know, you knew your neighbors. You know, you played outside. You knew. I mean, your neighbors could spank you. You know what I'm saying? You stayed over at their house at night. You know what I'm saying? You did all these things. And when I got here, it reminded me of that. It was like what they call nostalgia. Yeah. It was like that, and it was like, you know what? This is what I remember my childhood being like, and this is what I remember growing up in, and I think I gravitated toward that. Wow. Now, if you didn't grow up in the 80s or maybe the mid 90s around that time, you probably don't remember that. You know what I'm saying? I remember the time where, you know, we had to get up and go turn the TV. It wasn't remote control. So, you know, things like that. When I walked into, you know, maybe my wife's mom's house, it looks like my grandma's house back in the day. So it was just a lot of things that kind of that brought back memories.
Yeah. It's like, you know, I could resonate a ton with that. I grew up in Brooklyn, 90s, and just running around outside. It wasn't like this locked up and like everybody, like a stranger is a problem. Right. Back then that wasn't really, even though they told you that. It's like, don't talk to strangers. Right. But people would still get together, talk. There would be community. Right. Now I feel like that's just like slipping away maybe in the US. Right. Yeah. It has slipped away. It has, right? Let me ask you, was that, like, you did a couple trips coming from the US here. Was it like a slow buildup of like, this is like the place, the culture, just that nostalgia that you're talking about? Or was it like you did a couple trips and you were like, I'm out?
No, it was a slow buildup. I started coming over here in, I think, 2009 or 10, and I didn't actually move to the first time into 2015.
Okay, so it took you like a good 5 years of just like looking, exploring.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Was that something that do you think you would have still done the move if it was like your wife like, hey, let's go? Like, you came once or twice and would have just moved?
I don't know. That's a good question. You know, it just depends on, you know, when would she have asked me that, at what time frame, you know, was I at the point in my life or at the point in our life where it's like, okay, I'm ready to go. A lot, you know, not only that, the nostalgia and just the culture attracted me, I mean, helped with the move. It was also what was happening in the US too. And all that played a part. So, you know, maybe in 2009 when, you know, the U.S. wasn't, or 2010 when the U.S. wasn't as, you know, what it is now. And she said, I mean, well, you know, let me think about it. But when by the time 2015 came around, the U.S. was, to me, that's when it starts to
spiral.
It started going in the wrong direction, in my opinion. You know, everybody has their own opinion, but my opinion, it started going in the wrong direction. And at that point, I was ready to go. And so,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and so, you know, we came over here in 2015, and then opened up a restaurant. Didn't work out, ended up going back. And then we spent another 5 years in the States, and then 2021 is when we made the move, and we've been here ever since. Matter of fact, next month, the 11th, would be 5 years.
5 years. Nice. I'm curious, what did your friends and family, like when you told them, all right, we're thinking about moving to the DR, or did you tell like your friends and family? If you did, what were their reactions?
I didn't give them a heads up. You know, I just
you just moved.
I just moved. Yeah,
that's a smart man. That's a smart thing to do. Yeah. It's like one thing I notice is in life in general, like when you start talking about your plans to certain people, they might not give you the right energy. I know for me, like I got a lot of pushback, and I also at the time was thinking, well, I'm not telling too many people, right? So I told maybe like my parents and like just like my siblings and stuff. But even then, they were like, "Man, you sure you know what you're doing?" Like, you know, I'm first of my family to do it. You know, that's not a thing. It's you move to the U.S. You don't move back.
You don't move back.
Unless you're retired, right?
Did you get people like hitting you up like, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? DR is not safe?" Any like after the move?
The first time I did. The first time in 2015, like, why you do that, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then when we went back, they was like, oh, I knew you probably wouldn't be able to make it. Yeah. And then when I said, you know, I'm coming back, then they understood. Because even when I went back in 2016, I had already said, hey, I'm going back, you know.
So you decided at that point?
Yeah, when I didn't want to leave, but, you know, the restaurant failed and I went broke. And so I had to go back.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I had to go back, regroup, and, you know, figure another way to earn money and do all that stuff to get back over here. But yeah, as soon as I landed in Fort Lauderdale, my plan was to get back.
You already spoke about a couple of things that attracted you to the country. What would you say is like amongst your favorite thing about DR?
The people.
The people.
Yeah. I think the people has to be number one. I mean, we live in a world full of people, you know, and if you go somewhere, the one thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're comfortable around the people. So every time I came here, it just people made me feel comfortable. They made me feel welcome. And it doesn't hurt that, you know, I can kind of fit in a little bit in the Dominican culture until I open my mouth and they say, oh, that guy's from the South, you know. So, it was the people.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. I know you came from Fort Lauderdale, I think, but you're originally from Alabama, right?
I'm originally from Alabama. So I did most of my life in Alabama. The only reason we went to Fort Lauderdale is after we left here in 2016, moved back to Fort Lauderdale. Because really, before we moved to Dominican Republic in 2015 to open a restaurant, we were thinking, hey, should we go to Miami? And so it was between Miami or coming to Santo Domingo. And so it ended up being Santo Domingo. So when it didn't work out, we went back. We was like, we're not going back to Alabama because we didn't want to be in Alabama anyway. So
Which part of Alabama?
Huntsville.
Huntsville, okay.
Right.
So that's more like north, central, or?
It's North Alabama. It's right. It's like 15 minutes from the Tennessee line.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
You know, the reason I asked is because I lived in Texas for a while, and that's when I fell in love with Cajun food.
Okay.
There are a lot of Cajun food there in the Houston area, being it's not too far away from
Alabama.
Alabama
Louisiana,
and Louisiana.
Really. Yeah, right.
And
Mobile. I'm originally from Mobile.
Right, that's what I was gonna ask you because so you know crawfish. Of course, man, yeah, I'm like I miss like people ask me what I miss about the U.S. Food,
right?
Food or the selection of food that you get.
The variety.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you saw the post I saw crawfish in Unidos. Frozen crawfish.
No,
it may not be as good because it's not fresh, but I'm gonna try it anyway because I like.
No, for sure. But so Unidos, do we have that here in Santiago? We don't have that.
I don't think
so. I've seen it over there, and I've seen it. I think in Punta Cana they have Unidos.
Yeah, they
I
just
believe.
got that one there.
But I don't think we have that here in Santiago, man. But if I could find myself some crawfish, man, we love crawfish boiled with the potatoes, with the
sausage.
Oh man, yeah. I miss that. I miss that. Yeah.
See, I don't know about that, man.
No, I mean it's one of those things. Look, over here every day in Santiago, like since I've been here, you're getting tons of restaurants opening up. Different types of foods.
Yes, that's happening.
Yeah, it's not going backwards. Like it just keeps, got the mall. With the mall came a bunch of restaurants too.
Right.
And so, but when I go to Santo Domingo, I mean, I cannot, you cannot deny.
You know what's the thing about Santiago? Now people see the city as like, well, I could open it up there. Back then it's like, that's kind of small.
Yeah.
You know? Jay, let me ask you something. You say the people really like pulled you in. Mm-hmm. What is it like from like how do you experience that like in your day to day? What is it that got your attention? You know, how do you live that you interact with people throughout the day and you really experience that community feeling, you know?
Let me go pause that. Tell me again, and I'll answer it. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that the people really is like one of the main reasons you like to be here. Right. How do you experience that? How do you interact? How does your day-to-day look like that you get to see that?
Oh, okay. So grocery store trips, pharmacies,
really,
restaurants.
And I'm saying really because it's like I'm thinking you're talking about like in social gatherings, but you're just talking about like day-to-day.
I'm talking about day-to-day.
The little things.
The little things. The little things. You know, in the elevator, good morning. Buenos dias.
Yeah.
That are buenos. When you pass somebody, saludos. You know, things like that. Even when you're getting off the elevator, that's a buen dia. You know.
I criticize that a lot.
Those things like that, man, that you don't, you don't feel that. No, you look back and like, what,
Yeah. You're talking to me?
Yeah, you're talking to me. But now it's so normal, and I enjoy those little things like that. In the States, I remember when I went back there in the 2025, and I'm not trying to bash the States, but I mean, we got to admit that the culture has changed and it's different.
It's definitely changed.
And when immediately when I landed, in, what did I land? Was it Miami International? Maybe at Miami or Fort Lauderdale. You hear this sense of entitlement, people arguing with, the TSA, just this, and it's like, it just reminds, hey, I'm back in the States now, and that right there, like, you don't see people in here, like in Santo Domingo, or either here, period, in McDonald's, arguing with the cashier about, hey, where are my fries? Why are you putting no ketchup? It's just this entitlement that the states have, and people here, they don't operate like that, know. And I'm not saying that, that I've never seen anybody misbehave, because I have, but that's not as a whole. That doesn't define the people as a whole. It's just, that's an anomaly. Over there is almost like, hey, it's expected.
Yeah,
right.
It's every day. You're just, what you're saying, you're gonna see it every day you go out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, and it's amazing you're pointing that out, because I didn't even like think about that. And I I've been here for a while now. I've been here for almost, in the summer's gonna be 2 years without going back to the States, without traveling back. And I have a business trip coming up in a couple months, and I'm thinking, man, I am not looking forward to that culture shock.
Right.
Because I even got it, and this might sound crazy, but I went to Punta Cana when I went with Jonah, and I was like, man, I felt a little bit weird, because it was like, man, I know we're in DR, but things were like very different in a good way. Right. But because I was out of that element of like kind of like infrastructural, like an organized infrastructure and stuff like that, it's like, man, and like different types of like restaurants and just a different customer service. I was like, man, this is feeling a little bit weird. Right. And I'm like, man, when I go back to the States, what is that gonna feel like? Right.
I can't really reference a lot of what you guys are saying, really, because I grew up in New York. Okay. New York, it's like people have their headphones, they're just walking by. I'm used to that. So when I got here, for me, it was a culture shock, because it's like what you said. Oh, buenos dias in the elevator. I'm like, you're talking to me?
Right.
He doesn't like that. He rather the New York, like, don't talk.
I'm used to, I've come to appreciate it.
Yeah.
I've come to appreciate it, because it's like, that's okay. That's how we're getting, like, that's how we should be as a people, as opposed to like ignoring each other at all times.
Right.
Yeah.
So you didn't like that in the beginning?
I just wasn't used to it.
Right.
It was like a little bit of a shock. Right. I mean, it is like I said, New York, you're in the subway. If someone's talking to you, danger.
Right.
If you're in the subway, unless they're asking you, like a tourist or somebody asking you for directions, but for the most part, people don't just stop you.
Right.
Yeah. We're talking about, you've said what things you like here. Is there anything you miss from like back home?
Not really. Only the convenience. Some of the conveniences that, and in terms of especially service, things like that.
I mean, all of that's coming up.
Yeah.
All of that's improving.
Yeah.
So, they'll get to a point where it's like, they'll have everything.
Right. It's definitely improving.
Right.
I mean, improving is definitely improving.
And like, I think about this often, because that was a thing when I first moved here. I was thinking about a lot, like, man, where's the customer service? And I've gotten used to it. And then now I feel like it's gotten like he says, like, I feel like it's gotten better. And I think it's because people keep mentioning it to them. Maybe in the reviews, they're coming up more to speed. I would imagine Santo Domingo a lot faster with like Google reviews and stuff like that, or people just talking to supervisors and like, hey man, like attend to us a little bit more differently. Like, this is what we're used to or whatever. So, but I feel like it's changed. But then I also was thinking about back in the States, like you said, in McDonald's, people arguing with each other and stuff like that. So it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, there could be good customer service in like top-notch places, but there's also like in general, probably pretty bad customer service. And it's not in the attention form, it's in the respect and the cultural value, Right. It's a little bit different.
I'm going to tell you what it is. In the US, you go somewhere and you kind of don't know what you're going to get.
That's true.
You get what I'm saying? It could be anything can happen.
Right. Anything happen. Right.
Here, and I'm not going to get into what I mean by anything.
Right.
But here it's like, you might have like a bad experience here and there, or, customer service might be different, but for the most part, you could go out and you can say, hey, I'm going to have a good time. Right. And you don't have to be worrying about things.
Right. Now, you said a key thing. When people say customer service is bad here, I used to think that too, but really it's just different.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because if you haven't been taught how to serve someone, then it's not really bad. It's just you don't know what it is. And I think now they're grooming people to or their employees to treat people with treat's not a good word, but to exemplify that customer service. Because I think it's different, because if you think about it, if you haven't been taught something, then how is it bad?
You just really, I'm not even, like, you changed my mind on this because, look, it's true, it's the lack of training, but every single time I think back, I'm like, it's not that they didn't care.
Right.
They did care. It's just like they didn't do the things you expect.
Right. And the reason why you expect it is because they did it back there.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You like, I would like for you,
That's true.
hand my stuff to me a little bit better. And I'm gonna tell you one thing I had to get used to is when my hand was out for my change, they sit on the table.
God, I hate that. Oh my God.
That right there I was like, did you not see my hand there?
Yeah, they don't.
But I had
They
to
just do that.
that's just what it is. And you go, and it's not, and I was like, but then you think about it, it's like the guy does it, this guy does it, you go here, everybody does it. So if everybody does it, it's part of the culture. It's just different.
Exactly.
It's not that they're being rude. Right. They were just taught to place your change on the table.
Exactly. Yeah. Is there any like place, could be restaurant, an experience that you would recommend for someone that's moving here to like check out right away, or not right away, but anything that you would recommend, like an experience or?
Meaning a restaurant?
And it could be a restaurant, like a specific spot that you say, man, you got to go
Somebody
to this place.
just came to the country, was like, hey, you got to check this place out.
In Santo Domingo, just in the country?
Anywhere.
Yeah. Santo Domingo.
Yeah. Just the city.
Well, I take that back. It just depends on what that person is looking for. If that person is coming in, hey, say, I just want to relax and just chill, enjoy myself, where's the best place to go? Go to Punta Cana.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you looking for, hey, I just want high energy vibe, nightlife, rooftop bars.
Yeah,
come to Santo Domingo.
Yeah,
and and then also Santiago now. You guys are going over here too. So
one day,
we're getting there. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. It depends really what they're looking for, because some people don't like even being by the beach. They'll be like, I want to be in the mountains, or Jarabacoa, or somewhere like similar like that. Right. And or like in like Las Terrenas, you get a little bit of both. You got a little bit. I mean, it's not like high, super, the altitude, but you get some hill mountains down to the beach, so you get a little bit of both there. And then what I would say, as far as like an experience that I was just thinking as I was asking you, I'm like, what would I say? Probably like a car wash. Like that's very different than the States. Like going to a car wash.
Yeah, that's big.
It's like, unless obviously you've been here,
well,
you've
if you're
already
looking
done
for a specific experience like
that.
Yeah. So if you ask me, what would you ask him? What would you tell them to do in Santo Domingo? That would be one of them. Go to a car wash. A car model. Sit at the car model on a Friday or anytime after work.
Yeah. So I know that there's this debate of like the Punta Cana versus Santo Domingo, and I know where everybody's like throwing the pros and cons out there, but for you personally, that vibe that you mentioned, like just the city vibe, the nightlife, is that something that you would prefer regardless than like just the beach life or that, or is it like
100%?
That's what you like.
100%. I don't necessarily have to be 5 steps away from the beach.
Yeah.
We lived in Fort Lauderdale, and for 5 years, and I can count on one hand how many times I went to the beach, and I was 3 miles away from
same exact story.
That's the exact same.
The beach is fine. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I would rather go to the river.
Yeah, I'm a big with the river too. Yeah.
Or I'd rather be, if you're in an Airbnb, I'd rather just be at the pool.
Yeah.
The beaches for me is like just for like the scenery.
Yeah. And even that's different than like in Florida, because I live in Palm Beach County, very close to Fort Lauderdale. So you got Las Olas, you got Delray Beach, which we go to. How is it different, the beach, than here? Oh, like he said, the nature, the scenery. Right. You don't have the mountains in the backdrop. No. The water might be different depending what part of the country
people
you're in.
Selling you stuff in the beach, offering you a bunch of things.
Not in the one over in Fort Lauderdale. I didn't see people like that.
Oh, you're talking about
here.
Here.
Oh, here. Oh, yeah. That's a difference, right?
Yeah. But it depends where you're at. We've been to many beaches where they don't do that. They'll have like, and so it really depends.
The tourist beaches they do, but there's so many other beaches here that you don't have to, Palenque, you go there, you don't have people running behind you. Boca Chica is the worst to me.
Yeah.
It is the worst. You ever been to Boca Chica?
I have not, no.
You been to Boca Chica?
I think when I was a kid.
Oh, man, listen, they will harass you.
Really?
From the time you walk, I mean, even before you got your car.
What?
Man. So
bad?
where would it be similar for us? Would it be Puerto Plata maybe, like certain spots in Tabarete?
I don't think if it's like that, like stopping you in the car. I don't think there's something like that.
Oh, not in the car. Yeah, that's
Boca Chica is on 1,000. Trust me, it's on 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, in our beaches here is Puerto Plata, like I mentioned. Now you got Punta Rusia coming up. Beautiful area. Have you been there yet?
No, it's on my list this year.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's very raw there. Like it's still there's not much there, but that's part of the experience. Because now you're in a small town, it's very clean. To me, I found it like very clean. They just recently built the roads, like a different way to get there. That is, it's just like brand new. So it's a pleasure to drive there, and then just like it's a small town, and the beach is beautiful too. You got La Ensenada, you know, like going there.
Right. Yeah.
Jay, so what would you say the DR has done to you? How have you changed from not? And I'm not even talking about moving here. I'm talking about like the whole experience. You came that first time, opened the restaurant, back. Like, how have you changed?
I would say I've gained a lot of patience. That's one of them.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah, you got to have patience to live in DR. You know,
for many reasons.
For many reasons, right? And just how I see, you know, how I define, you know, just success in general. You know what I'm saying? It's not always equated to finances. It can be equated to just, you know, living in peace. And I think living here those 5 years have brought me that peace that I wouldn't say I was searching for it, but it's like once you have a taste of it, after being here, you realize what it is. You're like, this is different. This vibe is different. You know, your blood pressure goes down.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, this is what peace feels like. Yeah.
Man, that's interesting you said that, because I was just kind of like thinking of when I moved here. First, I was like a little bit accelerated with just like what I was used to back in the States. Even though I was in Florida, I was in like New York where I'm originally from, or even Texas or Jersey. You know, it was more slow paced, but it was still way faster paced than here. You expect things to be done at a certain pace, whether it's with like government, you know, type tasks or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
But I was, you know, thinking over here, you kind of like learn to live a little bit slower, right? And so that took a couple months for me personally. And one thing I could say that's definitely changing me is the way I see success, similar to what you're saying. Now I'm a lot more frugal. Whereas like you could attest to when I first got here, we were kind of like fast with like spending money. Yeah. Right. And then it's just not like that here. Right. Even the people, the wealthy people, they have some of that. I mean, you see them with like sports cars and all that. They have big businesses and they're doing very well. They own a lot of land, especially in this region. It's like a lot of landowners, a lot of old money, right? Inheritance money. But the cultural lifestyle they live financially is just one of a more frugal one overall than like keeping up with the Joneses, even though that exists here, you know, still, as you know, but it's just I think that's a big difference.
You know what I think it is? I think it's like that piece. Let me see if I'm getting or understanding, is that you could go to a river, you could get a cocinao, you could get, you know, you have your friends, you have a beer, and that's it.
That's it.
Right? Like
you don't need anything.
That's enough. That's enough.
Yeah. In the US, I get that feeling that's like, oh, there should be more.
Right.
No. Like, this is good.
That's it.
Yeah, you're always chasing that, like
that's true.
Right.
Yeah. That new experience and stuff. Like over here, it happens on a more like trying to discover thing, like especially here in Santiago. It's like, oh, there's a new restaurant. Everyone wants to flood to it. Right. I don't know if it's like that in Santo Domingo, but here there's a new restaurant. That's gonna. It's you know, what determines the longevity of the success of the business is not what you do after and the experience and everything, but you're almost guaranteed that launch is going to be beautiful. Right. At this point, maybe it's going to get to a point that's not going to be, because there's going to be so many things to do. But right now, that's definitely a thing here in Santiago. Is it like that in Santo Domingo? I would imagine not, right?
When new restaurants open?
Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah, people are like, oh, you got to check out the new restaurant that opened on.
Dave and Buster's open.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right.
Man, dude, Dave and Buster's in Santiago would be excellent for a lot of things.
I heard it's coming.
Oh,
Really?
That's what I
coming?
heard.
I still have in my head this chip that's like, oh no, that's too big for Santiago. They're not gonna fill it.
No.
I get friends. Remember the friend of mine?
Yeah.
When they opened the Agora More here, they're like, they're not gonna fill that up.
It was
That's-
Starbucks they were talking about specifically.
right? Like,
Yeah.
that's not gonna work here.
So, yeah,
they're
what
not
do you guys
enough
think?
people.
What do you guys think? I'm
And
like, yeah, it's gonna
2
work.
million, was 2 million people here? 1.5
Something
Look,
like that,
This,
yeah.
this is
Why
someone
not?
that's
Yeah, of course it would.
Exactly. This is someone that's older, that's been here, that's seen. You know
Right.
what they mentioned? They said, "Oh, I remember. What was it? What was it that place? Hooters." He's like, "Remember Hooters?" I'm like, "Dude,
That was
Hooters. I think it's
years
bankrupt
ago.
in the U.S. What are you talking
was
about? You
years
cannot
ago.
compare Hooters with like a Starbucks
Right.
in
Oh, no.
2025.
Oh, no.
You know, then
No.
it's different. And so yeah, I think it's gonna make it. Why? Because these people, they don't do things without data.
Right.
Like, look at all these new hotels opening up here.
Right.
And you came, this week you had trouble finding Airbnbs
Right.
because of all the events that are happening this weekend.
Yeah.
And all these new hotels, and they're all packed. Everything's packed.
Everything's full.
Airbnb's
Right.
full. So obviously they knew that was coming.
Right.
These people they do their research, and so the mind shift a little bit with people that are used to one thing is it takes time, but it does happen.
Just like they got that, they just opened IHOP right in Sanbia Mall on Monday. And, when I first posted that reel about it, people said, oh, it was there 10 years, 5 years, or 6 years ago, however many years ago, in the same spot, and it didn't work. But like, to your point, when you say they got data now,
Yeah.
you think they're going to bring that back and thinking it's going to fail? No, it's different.
No. It's
Yeah,
it's very different.
So wait, we're talking about 5 years ago. We didn't have as much activity, as much people, as much of like I've been here 8 years, and I think it's like what I was saying. Back then, there was none of this activity. There were no like what in the past 3 years we had all these hotels pop up.
Right.
Is that also going on in Santo Domingo the same way?
I would say in 2015 when I was here living their first year, Santo Domingo was not like it is now. And we're talking 10 years ago.
Right.
It just wasn't. The restaurant I had, I was selling wings, alitas.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my product.
Okay.
And back then I had to educate. One of the problems is I had to educate Dominicans on what wings were. They didn't know what they knew what they were. It was like, hey, you got barbecue and you got plain. That was it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was difficult for the business to survive back then because, first of all, you can't get Dominicans to get off their diet for lunch, which is beans and rice. You're just not going to do it. And another thing is that I didn't realize that beforehand to open a restaurant mostly in the evenings because during the lunchtime, they're not going to really eat that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what I noticed when I got back, they have all these wing restaurants now.
Yeah.
All different flavors. But when I had it, there were none around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now there's a market.
And now there's a market for it.
Yeah.
Had I known any better back then, I probably would have went to like Punta Cana and did it. Because as you're walking down the street in Punta Cana, when you see something, it was called Metro Wings. You see Metro Wings. I don't have to educate an American or a Canadian or a European what that means. Oh man, it's almost like pizza. When you see pizza, you already know what it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what it is. So here they was like, oh, what are wings? Things like that. Yeah.
So no, definitely all those little things that for someone outside of the country they're very familiar with. Now the Dominican public or someone that's been here for a long time, now they're getting used to seeing all these things that maybe they've seen on TV.
Right.
And now they're getting to experience it. What would you say gets you the most excited about where the country's going? And like even for yourself personally, what gets you excited about the future?
Just the growth in general, man. Just seeing things progress, as being here for the last 5 years, I can see the growth. I could see them, add new highways, especially in Santo Domingo, new highways. They're talking about, getting a metro rail from Santo Domingo to the airport. Just all these different ideas that they're coming up, just growing. I really, that gets me excited. I know for some people, it kind of terrifies them because they think that it is going to take away the authenticity of the country, but I don't know if I want to get into that. You guys,
I mean, I kind of feel what he's saying. It's not. It's more like my childhood and all the the difference, that gap between the DR and the US and the infrastructure that I experienced. I mean, I grew up coming here and then we would get blackouts for hours.
Right.
And it's just that experience. I'm like, okay, that's gone.
Now that gap is closing.
Yeah, like now I'm not seeing kids like, oh, there's no light. Let's go outside to the streets and run around. You know?
You know, I would say this. For someone diaspora like myself, first generation American, or someone that's been in the US or Canada or Spain, anywhere outside the Dominican for a long time, that maybe even if they would like to, they don't live here, and maybe they'll live here in the future or not. I could see why they would feel a certain way.
Right.
For me, selfishly, since I live here and I'm building roots here, I think obviously for me, I have mixed emotions about it, mixed feelings about it. It's definitely a lot more comfortable. You know, I have kids. We all have kids, so for them also it's a thing. And then also I don't feel as bad that things are kind of improving, because for me that's an improvement. As long as culturally things don't change, that takes, I think, a lot longer, and the only problem is it might change because of those things too, or maybe not. Right now I don't see like many changes, right, that I could think of. But another part to that I was gonna say is you still have the campos. I mean, this country is huge. We're talking about cities. Now those campos, things are changing as well, but not at the same speed. It sounds selfish. It's like, man, you know, in my lifetime, I'm still gonna be straight, you know. But I want my kids to also experience that, which is one of the reasons I moved here, and they're experiencing it now. But my point is, you still get a lot. You have a lot of that still in a lot of parts of the country. So, you know, you could still experience that if you want to.
You know, what's funny? This was literally the topic at the barbershop, where people were complaining that not the generation of today cannot sustain a crisis because we got too comfortable. And they're like comparing the US to the DR of COVID. And they got hit way harder than the DR, because DR was already, what do you mean? You can't go out, or you can't do this. We were already,
that already,
like, you know, but I think as long as people still get together the same way, that's what matters.
I think the culture here is too strong for it to.
That's a good way to put it.
You know, I know they get upset when they see the IHOP, the Popeyes, and all that, but at the end of the day, you go to McDonald's, still a mango breakfast.
Seriously,
so,
man.
you know, and just the culture of Dominican Republic is too strong. I don't think it'll do it. You know, I don't think I don't think it's going to become Americanized. You may see some American businesses here, but to actually just flip it where it's going to be, I don't think it'll happen. And then to your point where you say I was talking to somebody the other day, like, in the cities, you'll be able to see, like, people who come here, foreigners, they're not interested in going to San Juan or, you know, Mocha to live. They're interested in Santo Domingo and around the coastal areas because that's where they want. But to your point, inland is still going to have that strong Dominican culture. Like, no, I don't hear everybody say, "Hey, man, I want to move to Mocha." You know,
not unless you have roots there,
right? Unless you got roots there, you know. There's nothing wrong with Mocha, so you guys.
There's nothing wrong with. I love me some Mocha, best mofongo,
right?
Mocha,
hell yeah,
right?
Hell yeah.
Well, that's where the Mocaño restaurant come from, right?
I think so.
They have several like really famous ones there, and we went to one. I forget what. I wish I remember so I could.
Siete something.
Man, I forget. But
we'll look that up later.
Yeah, but I'll look it up and we'll leave it in the comments. But man, it's best mofongo I've had. Best mofongo. Mocha is definitely.
They messed the mofongo up when they started putting sauce on top of it, the white sauce.
Oh,
I just needed to be regular mofongo with the chicharron and then my little.
There's a little. What is it? The little thing they give you on the side.
That's it. That's all I need. I don't need any white sauce and all that.
Yeah. I guess, you know, it comes down to preference, but definitely for me, the original, you know, al ajillo with the garlic and all that stuff. Like that you can't go wrong with that. So we're talking about like the growth of the country, right? Where do you see, there's a lot of us, there's a lot of diaspora, expats, foreigners, whatever you want to call it, because people like to call it different things. Immigrants, right? You know, so but that's happening, I think, we all see it, especially we're in this niche, you know, with the community, with content and stuff, and it just keeps accelerating for other, you know, other reasons outside of just this country specifically. But where do you see this going? Like, how do you see this shaping up as far as the community just kind of like keep growing, like keep on growing and stuff?
I think it's going to continue to grow, especially if what's happening in the U.S. continues to happen. You know, people are trying to find other ways to. Well, let me say it a little different. If what happens in the U.S. continues to happen, not just politically, but from an affordability standpoint, people are going to just be looking for other places to go. And it's not necessarily DR. I mean, they're going to Mexico, they're going to Colombia, they're going to Brazil.
Everywhere. Yeah.
But there's going to be a mass exodus. And what's going on politically is actually speeding up the process for others. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I can't live in, in this type of environment. And then, first of all, I mean, it's enough that it costs
a
ton of money to live there. Then I got to put up with this, and then I got to put up with this also. It ain't even worth it.
Yeah,
I can't afford to live where I lived back in New York right now. And it's like, it's not even like, okay, you can make a decent amount of money. You can make a good income, and still it's like, well, it's not, doesn't make sense.
Right.
It's pretty bad. And so I see the same thing. I mean, I think it's happening right now. Right. I don't think the mass exodus you're mentioning, I think that's been happening, accelerated after the pandemic.
Right.
Pre-pandemic, you got the digital nomads doing it, their thing, and long before the pandemic, but after the pandemic it accelerated, and now, like you said, for whatever political reasons, obviously we're not going to get into that, but there's things happening economically too, where people like really, and like you said, it's not, we think about Dominican Republic because we're here and we make the content and, we talk about it often, but so it's a personal thing, but they're like you said, they're going to, Portugal, Brazil, Costa Rica, Panama, wherever it is, and if they have roots there, it's, a lot easier, unless it's, there's any like major issues there also politically, which is another thing we don't have here.
Right.
It's pretty, stable.
Right.
Yeah. And so
for now,
I do see the growth happening, and like, we're growing, right? Dominican Bridge coming to Santo Domingo.
Oh, yeah.
We might as well talk about it now, right? When is it? 21st of March?
March 21st.
March 21st.
Yeah.
In Santo Domingo, March 21st. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be, I think, a fun time. We're going to socialize. We're going to have a couple things that we're going to be introducing there. And it'll be, most importantly, the launch of Santo Domingo with Jay right here. So I'm excited about that. And so we'll look forward to seeing everyone there.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a good opportunity. It's going to be a good event. I appreciate, collaborating with you guys. I just thought it was a good idea. I mean, what you guys are putting together here in Santiago. Man, I love my Santo Domingo. What you guys are putting together in Santiago, I respected it. And I'll say, why not, collaborate with you guys and bring it over there to Santo Domingo and do the same thing. Because, you invited me up to the one here, and I loved it. I thought it was nice. I met some great people, and
we want to do more of that. It's just get the community together, because there's a ton of people, I think, shouting out to you like, hey, when is something happening in the capital?
Absolutely. I think one guy I met there, he was like, I think he came from the capital, and he was there. He was like, we don't have this in Santo Domingo.
Yeah.
So, so that just tells you that people are looking for that type of event.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. Yeah. Well, I mean, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting.
Same.